What's the nicest thing you've ever seen a biker gang do? I've been riding with the Iron Wolves for 6 years. Leather cuts, face tattoos, bikes loud enough to rattle windows. People cross the street when they see us, and most days we don't mind. It was a Wednesday in November, around 2 a.m. We'd been riding through central Pennsylvania coming back from a rally. Cold rain, everyone on fumes. Our road captain Brick called a fuel stop at this rundown gas station off the highway. One working pump, a fluorescent light buzzing like it was begging to die. We pulled in loud, 8 Harleys into a tiny lot. The clerk looked ready to lock the doors. That's when Brick spotted her. A little girl, couldn't have been older than 6, sitting on the concrete curb outside by herself, barefoot, in November. Thin pajama top with cartoon dogs on it, clutching a beat-up stuffed rabbit so hard her knuckles were white. No coat, no shoes, no adult anywhere. Brick killed his engine and pulled off his helmet slowly. When Brick moved slow, something's wrong. Brick was 6'4", 280 pounds, full sleeves on both arms, a scar across his eyebrow, and a beard that hadn't seen scissors in a decade. Children screamed when they saw him. He walked over and lowered himself onto the wet concrete next to her. Didn't say a word, just sat there, this enormous man folding himself down like he had all the time in the world. The girl scooted away, pressing her rabbit tighter. "That's a good-looking rabbit," Brick said, staring at the empty lot. "What's his name?" She didn't answer for a long time. Then, barely a whisper, "Pancake, Pancake," Brick repeated, nodding like she'd told him the meaning of life. "Strong name. Pancake looks like he's been through some battles." The tiniest smile, just a flicker. "Where's your mom, sweetheart?" "Inside. She went to the bathroom. She told me to count to 100, and she'd be back." "How high did you count?" "I counted to 107 times." Brick's jaw tightened. He glanced back at us and made a quick gesture. "Coyote and Webb, go inside, now." They found her mother on the bathroom floor, unconscious, needle still in her arm. Coyote came back white as a sheet and shook his head at Brick. Brick didn't flinch, just kept sitting next to a little girl who had no idea her world was collapsing 12 feet behind a bathroom door. "Is my mom okay?" she asked, because kids always know. "Some really smart people are coming to help her," Brick said. "Hang out with me and Pancake until they get here. Sound okay?" She nodded. Webb called 911. Coyote grabbed the first aid kit and went back in. The rest of us stood in the rain. 7 men in leather who'd faced bar fights and highway wrecks, not one knowing what to do with our hands. For 20 minutes, Brick sat on that wet concrete, didn't explain anything, didn't make promises. He asked about Pancake's favorite foods, whether Pancake preferred thunderstorms or sunshine, if Pancake had friends at school. She answered every question a little louder, her voice steadying, her grip on the rabbit loosening. Then she leaned against his arm. This tiny barefoot child pressing into the leather of a man most people would cross 4 lanes to avoid. When the ambulance arrived, paramedics loaded her mother on a stretcher. A cop knelt and started asking the girl questions. She looked up at Brick, terrified again. "Can he stay?" she asked, pointing up at him. The officer looked at this massive tattooed biker and clearly wanted to say no. Brick just settled back. "I'm not going anywhere, kid." He stayed 2 more hours while they located an ant 3 counties over. Sat on a plastic chair that groaned under him, nodding while she described every character from her favorite cartoon between bites of granola bars we scraped from our saddlebags. When the ant pulled up at 5 in the morning, the girl wrapped both arms around Brick's leg. He placed one hand on her head, careful, like he was afraid he'd break her. Walking back to the bikes, I noticed Brick's hands shaking, not from the cold. We rode 60 miles in silence. When we stopped for gas, I asked him, "How'd you know to look for her?" "None of us even saw that kid." He didn't answer, just watched the numbers tick on the pump. Then he pulled down his collar. Below his collarbone, half hidden by his beard, was a small, faded tattoo I'd never noticed in 6 years riding with him. "A stuffed rabbit, because I was the kid on the curb," he said, "and nobody stopped."